Q&A video. I've had a lot of questions after that video, and I think it's good just to cover most of them. So here we go. First question, what is the biggest project I've ever made? That would be a tie between my bed, which I'm going to show a picture of right now, and my dining room table. Those in pure numbers are probably the largest thing I've made when it comes to wood in furniture. What is the hardest thing you've ever made / most proud of? Well, everything I make I'm proud of building, because I put a lot of effort into making sure it's a good quality piece. But I would say being able to make my own furniture in my house is probably the thing I'm most proud of. The bed I sleep on, the dresser I'll use, which we're working on right now, is making a dresser. My nightstands, my bookshelves, my dining room table, practically everything that I use in my everyday has been created by me. And I like that feeling that, that comes with it, is that, I have the satisfaction that what I make is meaningful and meaningful to those who use it. What are some good ways to improve your woodworking skills without wasting a lot of material? Pallets. Pallets are free wood. Again, you can get hardwood pallets, softwood pallets, exotic wood pallets. It's a lot of free material that you can play around with and learn a lot of skills on without having to worry about wasting more expensive stuff like your cherry, your walnut, your mahogany, your ebony. It just gives you more abilities just to learn and make mistakes. Now, mistakes will happen on every project. No one is that perfect, but you always will eventually build enough experience where you'll know how to deal with that mistake and make it look like it never happened. Are there any interesting hacks or ways you've used relatively common machinery? I cover most of my hacks in my videos. I'm going to link to the top right now, tips and tricks for like the table saw and tips and tricks for the bandsaw. Those are just a quick few, but what I am going to do in the future is I'm going to do a segment called Barely a Minute. In 1 minute, I'm going to do a tip, whether it be a small shop tip or a machine tip, because there are just thousands of them out there. Like, each machine in my shop doesn't just do one thing. They can do at least 5 to 6 separate things, depending on the machine. All right? Because again, each machine, if you know how to use it correctly, has more than just one use. How big is my shop? What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pop up a video right now of my laser. I use a laser to measure the square footage of my shop. It's big enough for what I need. Obviously, I'm blessed to be able to have this space to work in instead of a smaller shop. The other benefit is, because everything's on casters, I don't have to worry about being inside. I can roll everything outside if a project is too big to make that. How long did it take for you to put this workspace together? The current workspace that was shown in the tour took about 1 year to do when it comes to setting up and tools and stuff like that. Most of the tools I have been collecting I started collecting the major tools since 2014 is when I started collecting the big stuff, like my Blue Craftsman drill press, my Atlas table saw, my Delta router, and my lathe. The lathe was the first, my rocket lathe behind me was the first tool that I actually bought. I paid $150 for it. But besides that, everything else has been gotten in the last, I'd say, year and a half. Mostly because, again, when it comes to tool acquisition, if you make yourself known as a person who's looking for tools, sometimes people will be receptive to saying, hey, I have a grandfather who's going to a retirement home, and cut that out entirely. Forget that whole scene. But Alright, when it comes to wood, do you buy all of your wood or do you make some of it? It's a mix of both. Most of the material I've gotten has actually been donated. A lot of people have wood in their sheds, or their great uncle had, and they don't know what to use with it, and they end up donating it to me. That's the bulk of what I have in my shop right now. Most of my blanks, though, I do harvest on my own, whether they be walnut, locust, maple, oak, cherry. All of them are logs that I harvest, and then what I'll do is I will quarter them, and then I'll square them up on the jointer, and then I'll put paste wax on the ends. Now, the dry time for these is somewhere between 2 to 3 years before I can use them, but the nice thing is I can start to use woods that aren't normally on the shelves. Like a good example is I got pieces of American elm, American chestnut, locust, which you can't just go down to Home Depot and buy. And the benefits, for example, like yellow locust, is that, well, it's actually green. And it has some properties that, you can't just go to a lumber store and buy. So when it comes to the more exotic woods in New England, being able to harvest your own stuff gives you more options. Again, it's free wood. I didn't have to pay for any of these wood. When it comes to stores, where would I go to get my lumber? I mean, starting off as a woodworker, it doesn't really matter because you're normally working with pine, oak, poplar. Any of those can be bought at a home goods store like Home Depot or Lowe's or Ace. But if you want to get into more of the finer furniture, you need to look for a supplier in your area that has S4S, or four-side surfaced, or S2S, so that's 2 sides are surfaced and 2 are not. The reason why those designations are important is that sometimes it's cheaper to buy the bigger rough sawn lumber and you do the squaring in your own shop. And I can tell you I could save a lot of money when I've had to buy lumber, buying it rough, because then I can get it down to the size and shape that I want, instead of buying it at the lumber store and then it changing shape or warping on me in a way that I can't fix. So again, I guess when you go to buy wood, and if you need to buy large quantities of it, I wouldn't suggest the home goods store for a really big project, unless it's plywood. Plywood is a good place to get. Places around here, I would recommend Rugby Construction would be one of them. Connecticut Lumber Supply, if you want to get reclaimed lumber. Those would be the areas I would go for wood itself. What is my favorite project to do in my home shop? It's hard to do. I would say building wine stoppers. They're quick to build and they're just enjoyable, specifically since they are, I'm going to show a picture of one right now, since they are stained plywood, they create these really cool chips, and it's always interesting to see what comes out of it. Where do I keep all my hand tools, and how do I organize them? Well, I'm going to actually show a picture of my tool wall right now. Most of the tools that I carry, so my hammers, my chisels, my screwdrivers, my awls, my punches, layout tools, they're all in an area where I can quickly grab them. When it comes to my bench planes, block planes, and other hand tools and saws, I'm still working out a way to hang them on the wall that I can quickly access them without getting in the way of my current setup. So it's something, again, a shop is never done because you're always either making projects for your own shop or you're making projects to pay for that shop. For right now, since we're in lockdown, I've been mostly working on things to better my shop so that I could teach more stuff to you guys that are, easily done in our shop in Fairfield. Is maintaining tools costly or expensive? No. Just like a good guitar player, if you keep your machines tuned, cleaned, and well taken care of, the maintenance of it is almost zero. Obviously, when blades wear out and belts wear out and pulleys wear out, yes, that will cost money. But if you take good care of that and you buy good quality tools, normally what I would say is if you can get it American made, the likelihood is it will last longer than anything you will buy new at a home goods store. Most of my major machines, with the exception of the router table, the bandsaw, and my planer, are all American-made tools, and I have had no problems with them. The quality's been great, and the only things I've had to do to them is clean them. So again, if you can get a used tool in good quality, made in America, you won't have to worry about spending too much on maintaining it. Obviously, you need to clean it. So cleaning for table saws, you need to make sure the surface is waxed, and I've covered that in my table saw tips video. But again, it's not that expensive. But if you take the time to make sure everything is zeroed and is locked in a good precision way, and you don't use cheap parts, your machines will last longer than you. And most of these machines are. For example, this Atlas table saw, 1938. The Craftsman drill press, 1955, 1955, 1956. They're still going. So again, if you buy good quality products, you will get the use you want out of it. Some of the final questions are, what is the biggest mistake you've ever made on a project? I've always made mistakes on projects. The biggest ones obviously come down to measurement. I've rushed a few projects and I've cut things to the wrong size, and I've had to redo it again. But for the most part, that normally happened in my early days when I was in wood shop with Mr. Casse. Not saying I don't make mistakes or I forget to clean up a dent or mark on my project. It's just when you do wood for as long as I have, it starts to become second nature. Now, again, I will stress, I'm not perfect. I do make mistakes, but the best woodworkers know you will make mistakes regardless of how good you are or what level you're at. It's what will you do with that mistake, or how will you fix that mistake will determine your competency. So again, if you make a mistake, you're going to have to come up with a design and fix it. And that's how most of my projects have gotten fixed, or how they've changed. Again, no project is perfect, but if you know how to fix the mistakes or try to figure out how to fix the mistakes, that's how to become better. With that said, those are all the questions I've had currently. I hope you guys look forward to any further videos I'm going to do, whether it be the dresser build, the nightstand build, or the 1 hour challenge, which I look forward to doing this upcoming week. It's going to be wine stoppers, not wine stoppers, a wine glass. So what I'm going to do is in 1 hour, I'm going to turn out of walnut a wine glass, and let's see if it's possible. So with that said, I hope everyone is having a safe quarantine, and you guys are staying healthy. And with that said, have a great day.